everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Also, want to welcome those tuning in on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube today for a very special guest who are joining us on our broadcast today. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon Live side, make sure you guys hit that follow button. You can stay connected with our broadcasting here 6 days a week here on Amazon Live. You'll see the follow button either here in this corner or down below, but you will also see some, not all, but some of the books from today's special guest. New York Times bestselling author Victoria Christopher Murray is making her first appearance here with us on Amazon Live. I've had the honor of interviewing her several times on Conversations Live, the radio show. But we're going to be talking with her about her brand new book. You guys see it there, Pride, her amazing writing journey, and also what's coming up for her. Nicole, see you over there on the Amazon Live side. Welcome to the broadcast. Glad you all could be able to be with us. And Victoria, thank you again for the time. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. I think you're one of the best in the business. You know that. So I was happy to know that I was going to be here with you.
Well, look, I'm going to be using it on a bumper sticker, Victoria. I want you to know that.
I know that's fine. I believe it.
Victoria, we had a great show before the show. Hello to you, Eric, joining us on the Facebook side. Sherry Marie, thank you for joining us on the Facebook side. If you guys have not gotten your copy of Pride, it is officially out now. Let's start there, Victoria. You have been so busy. I'm so glad that we had a chance to talk with you as you're now celebrating this new book. What has it been like for you to reflect on this year already? Because anyone who follows you online, we've seen you on movie sets. We've seen you, of course, promoting the new book, talking about new projects. What has it been like for you to kind of reflect on the year that's been 2023 already?
Yeah, I think 2023 has just continued from 2022 and 2022. It's like been one long day all flushed together. It's been a journey, but you know what? This is what I prayed for, right? I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a writer full time. And now my life is consumed with all things writing.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's one of those interesting things, though, Victoria, because, we've gotten to see you in so many different ways. I have the book Pride. I have it actually featured right now in the carousel, but there are other books, of course. Another book that's gotten a lot of attention for you that we were just talking about before we went live here, The Personal Librarian. You can see it there, as well as, of course, other books. One of my favorites, Stand Your Ground. You are one of those authors, though, that, and you and I have talked about this, that people cannot easily put you in a box. I love the fact that you're not afraid to go there and to push the envelope, even when talking about things like friends, family, and faith. Where does that courage come from, Victoria, to be able to write the books that you want to write?
That is a great question. And I'm not sure it takes courage. I think it takes more just not knowing what I was doing in the beginning of my career. I had never even really heard of genres. I knew there was mystery, but I wasn't a mystery writer. And I knew there were thrillers. I wasn't that. I had no idea of anything ever called Christian fiction. So from the first book I wrote, I was never writing to a genre. I was always just writing whatever was in my heart, just whatever book was in my heart. And so that's why even my agent says that. One day she was saying, I can't say to you, just go write one of your formula books because you don't have a formula. And I just have whatever the book is, that's what comes out. And so I've written across all genres.
And I think, and even with that, and being able to address things that are not always easy to address. I mentioned Stand Your Ground. Let me highlight it for a second, Victoria, here, because Stand Your Ground is a great example of that. Talk to us about what that was like. It came at an interesting time in the country's history. Talk to us about what it was like for you to be able to tell that story from the different perspectives that you were able to, and to have the conversations come about from it.
Stand Your Ground is my baby, Cyrus. I remember when I was speaking with you about it and how much I love that book. That Stand Your Ground I wrote in 2015. So that was a novel. That was a new idea. Not a new idea, but something, I was one of the first people to address that. And it's about a young, unarmed Black teenager who gets shot by a white man. And so in 2015, that was a whole new concept. It had happened with Trayvon Martin. It happened with Jordan Davis. And I decided to write that book. And speaking of courage, I wanted to write that book to entertain, because I never forget that I'm an entertainer. But that was the first time that I thought about educating, because people were getting mad at the juries and the jury verdicts. When you shouldn't be mad at the jury, you have to be mad at the law. And I thought I had an opportunity to teach people about the law. So I stepped forward with that. And it's interesting that you asked me about Stand Your Ground, because if it wasn't for Stand Your Ground, I would have never started the Seven Deadly Sins series.
Ah, interesting, interesting. I don't want to leave you guys out that are joining us on the Facebook side. Annalise, hello to you. Annalise says, I will be on however long I can with this connection. She's on the bus, but she's listening to us.
Yeah, that's
And she says, I was finally allowed to read Stand Your Ground, and it was moving. And so, and that's the thing again. And so the reason why I use the word courage with you, Victoria, because we live in a world where, unfortunately, as many advancements as we make, people are very quick to cancel you. People are very quick to try to put you in a box.
Yeah.
And if you're not giving them what they want, what they want you to give them, they're easy to try to, to push you aside. And that's why I use that word with you, because you really, with you, I never know what you're going to come back with. I think the personal librarian was a great example of that. I don't think any of the one who's read you over the years saw that book coming. But because you mentioned about Stand Your Ground and with the Seven Deadly Sins, talk to us about how the series kind of came to you.
So after I wrote Stand Your Ground, which was my heart, that was a book that, where I say Stand Your Ground, I bled on the pages. I really bled. Every word of that book, I made sure was as perfect as I could get it. And because of that, I ended up winning every award I could win. I had been nominated for an NAACP Image Award 5 times, had never won. I was like Susan Lucci, just getting nominated, never won. I finally won that. I was a Library Journal Book of the Year, all of these things. And so, Cyrus, when it came time to write the next book, I was afraid. I was intimidated by my own success. I thought people would read whatever came after Stand Your Ground and say, that girl needs to go get a new job or something, because she's not a writer anymore. And I would sit down every day, because I'm a writer and I do sit down every day, and nothing would come out. I had no ideas, nothing. And it was my agent finally who reminded me that if I wanted to eat and continue to live where I was living, I needed to write a book, because that's how I earn money. But she also said to me, let's write something so totally different from Stand Your Ground so that nobody will compare it. And a few years before, I had talked to her about the Seven Deadly Sins, because Vicky Stringer had come to me and she wanted us to, an urban fiction author, a Christian fiction author sometimes, to come together and do a series of books together. I was down with it. But then she ended up leaving publishing, and she's like, girl, you should do it. But I had other books I wanted to write, and I had forgotten about that. And when my agent said, write something totally different so that no one would compare, I was like, aha, lust. And that's how it came out. I can't say that I was committed to writing 7 books, but it just sounded good to say, lust, 7 Deadly Sins, And so that's how the book series came about. But before the books even hit the shelf, Patrick Bass from Essence Magazine read Lust, and he called Sean Robinson, a friend of his who he knew wanted to get into movies. And he said, if you want to get into movies, I've been reading Victoria for 20 years. This is her most commercial book. Call her. And that's how it came about. That's how it started.
I want to talk about that. I do want to acknowledge you all, and I appreciate you guys over on YouTube. I see you guys over there as well. Twitter, thank you so much for joining us. And Facebook, Melissa Banks says, great conversation. Sherry says, love your transparency. One thing about, and Victoria and I have known each other a long time.
Long time.
And I am so in love with her as a person, but her success, and this is why, and we're going to get into celebrating others, Victoria, at the end of this, but because you're very big on that, and I think more people can learn from you. Just like I think writers learn from you when it comes to your journey as a writer. I think entrepreneurs can learn from you and the way you support others and realize that's okay. We're going to talk about that for sure. I think for so many people out there who look at the books and look at the movies, that is an author's dream come true. What
Mhm.
was it like for you to have that dream come true for you over and over again with these books?
So it was interesting because you're absolutely right. I'm not sure it was like a dream of mine. I mean, I did think, okay, it would be nice if somebody would option this and make it into a movie. But people had been optioning my books to become movies for years.
Mm,
So one of the things that I always tell writers is if you are a book writer, if you're an author, stay in your lane and just keep writing those books and the movies will come to you. A lot of
mm,
people get so focused on the movies that they stop writing the books. And you need the content for someone to come to you, because what pleased Lifetime the most was that it wasn't a one book thing that they were going to make a movie. They loved the idea of seven. So Lifetime got me committed before, when I wasn't committed. But it's really interesting because, first of all, I always tell readers that a movie is only going to taste like the book. It cannot be the book because the book is 300 pages, where the movie can only be a 90-page script because it's a page a minute. So I always tell people, do not get married to these books because you write books and that's your specialty. But these people who are going to put it on the screen, that's their specialty.
yeah.
So Lifetime did to me a wonderful job with the movies. The movies tasted like my books. And a lot of people, though, a lot of authors were like, how do you feel about all the changes they made to your books? First of all, I had no issue because these people are not real. They're not real. So they weren't talking about my mama. They weren't talking
Yeah.
about my cousin. They're not real people. If somebody doesn't make the movie the way you wanted to, go write another book. So I don't get tied to that. That doesn't make any sense. I never told Lifetime how to make their movies, and they never told me how to write my books. But to be able to see the core of what I'd written on the big screen was really nice. And to see people say words that I'd written, that was cool. And the best part to me were the number of actors who really read the book
Yeah.
and how impressed actors are with writers, because we see actors on the screen, but one thing actors have told me is they wouldn't be on the screen without people like me. So it's been a really interesting and wonderful journey, and as you said, I've been able to be on the set for the last three, not the first two, because they were filmed during COVID. So they filmed Lust and Envy during COVID, and then I was able to go to Vancouver for Greed, Wrath, and Pride.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Amazing, right?
And you've been able to take your readers along with you. I'm going to talk about that. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, you're watching Cyrus Ware Presents. We have New York Times bestselling author. We're going to talk about that too, Victoria. New York Times bestselling author Victoria Christopher Murray is joining us for the first time here on Amazon Live. I want to appreciate you guys tuning in also on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter as well. If you guys have any questions or comments for Victoria, make sure you guys put those in the comment section. The books are listed here in the carousel here on Amazon, so you guys can be able to just click on those, be able to get the books for yourself. Annalise says it's been great to observe. It definitely has been that. I want
Yeah.
to talk about
Annalise is my niece. Annalise is
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So, Victoria, let's talk about the readers,
yeah.
because you have some real ride or die readers that
Yes.
have been with you from the beginning. Others have come along the journey. Talk to us about that, because that, again, is the author's dream. It's one thing to
Mhm.
write what you love, it's another thing to have people appreciate that. What has that appreciation been like for you to be able to observe?
And that's really something, Cyrus. And I think you probably knew me with my first book. I think you probably
Hmm.
knew me with Temptation. I think that's
Yeah.
when we first started speaking about, you were hooking us up with book clubs and things.
Hmm.
When I was writing then, I couldn't imagine this. And I didn't know if I was writing to bring people along with me. And you're right, there are people who have been following me forever, like since Temptation. There are people that walk up to me and say, I've been reading you since I was 13 years old. That makes me feel bad because, they're grown. These are grown people with their own kids talking about they were reading me when they were 13.
Right.
And so that's cool. And then it's always so cool for the people who, after 20 years, have discovered me and think I'm this overnight success. So there are different people that have met me along the way, and that's what I think is most cool. All the diehard people who came from the beginning, and those are people who don't even let me talk about how bad Temptation was. Like I think that was my first novel. It really wasn't good. I didn't know it then. I know it now, and those people don't even let me talk about Temptation. So I have those diehard fans who will come after me if I talk about my own book, and then I have people who met me along the way.
I want to ask you something. Something I've been reflecting on myself and my team around me today. We kind of talk about, and it's something I don't take for granted, Victoria. And I'm curious for yourself because you are definitely have gone to just these extraordinary levels in your career. Has the vision changed for you over the years, or just has the ability to amplify it changed?
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't think anybody has ever asked me that. I think just the ability to amplify it, because my vision has always been every single book I write has to be better than the last book I wrote.
Okay.
I know that these words are going to outlive me. They will outlast me, and I want to be proud of any words on a page that people pick up after I'm gone. So if I'm leaving my name behind, I want to be proud of every single thing I write. And I had that belief and vision from the beginning. I believe that all of us writers owe it to not only the readers, but our legacy. Because when people are reading these books 100 years from now, if they are, we're a time capsule. We're leaving behind what was happening now. And will they look at this group of Black writers and say these were really good people who put together great stories for their time? Or will they look and say that was a hot mess and I want to be part of the legacy that we can be proud of? So that has never changed. But you're so right. I never thought about it that I've been blessed to amplify that message now.
And you have never been concerned just about yourself, Victoria. One of the things that someone mentioned to me, and I remember this seeing it myself, you have been very, very big about wanting to inspire and instill in others what you've learned, especially when it comes to the writing community. Why has it been so important for you to not only to be able to enjoy your own success, but to be able to give people the tools to have success in their own careers?
Because I kind of believe that the more good writers there are out there, it will help me. I mean, nobody's going to say they are an avid reader. I am an avid reader, and I only read Victoria Christopher Murray. And so if we want to create avid readers, we have to give them great books. And so it is really important to me to, that's why I used to love teaching writing. I don't have any time for that anymore, but I loved it because anything I learned, I was going to pass on to others. I was going to, because it's not a secret. I should tell everybody everything I've learned. But the thing I'm most proud of is I won't just recommend any book. So readers know that if I say this book is good, they'll go out and get it.
Love that. Let's talk about The Personal Librarian. I'm going to highlight it in the carousel here. Again, that is a book that was surprising, and I saw you talk about it on Facebook first, and then, of course, I had a chance to read it. Could you have seen the success of that book coming, Victoria?
Oh, no. And I asked Marie about it, my co-author, all the time, because, that was her idea. And so I say to her, every time we get a new statement, and this book just keeps selling. It's like by itself now. There's nothing we could do to help it or stop it or anything. And I ask her all the time, did you see this coming? And she said no. And I think there are a couple of things that are very interesting. First of all, there's this hidden figure of Belle DeCosta Green, who was hiding in plain sight in front of the most powerful man in the world. He was more powerful than the president. He saved the US economy 3 times. People think it's 2. He saved it 3 times. And it was a Black woman who was by his side. So I think the story was very fascinating. And then I think the story being delivered by a Black woman and a white woman made it even more interesting, writing it during a time when this country was exploding in the Black Lives Matter movement, and everything. So I just think so many things came together to just make this book a success. There's not one thing that I'd be able to point to.
And I don't want to get, for those who haven't read the book, you definitely want to pick up The Personal Librarian. But I want to say this, and I haven't seen you talk as much about this one part of the book. You know how I am when it comes to reading. But there's another issue that has been big in the news that also is featured in this book that really shows the timeliness of it, in the roller coaster of women in general, and the way women look at themselves and the choices they make. Talk about that, because because I don't know, to be honest with you, Victoria, I don't know when this kind of began. When did you all first say you were going to do this? Because I'm curious in the timeline.
I think it was 2018 that Marie reached out to me, and through my agent. And at first, I don't know if you know the story, Cyrus, but I wasn't interested. She sent a proposal that was 3 pages, single spaced. I always tease Marie about that. The first page of it was just about JP Morgan, and I wasn't really interested in JP Morgan. And it took me 3 months to finally have my agent force me to read it. She said, Victoria, nobody's that busy, read it. And so I struggled through the first page. It got a little bit better on the second page when she talked about Belle DeCosta Green. But the last paragraph said, and no one knew that Belle DeCosta Green was Black until she passed away. And I was like, really, Marie? You could have saved 8 pages in 3 months, because that's all I needed. And so Marie had known about Belle DeCosta Green for about 20 years. And when Marie first found out about her, she did not know she was Black. So she put her into, she has a folder of women that she wants to write about. And she'd been always wanting to write about Belle DeCosta Green. When she went back and discovered she was Black, this is the thing that I love about what Marie did. She said, I don't think I can do a story justice of a woman who was really Black without having a Black writer involved. And so she didn't know any Black writers. You know how segregated this industry is. And then she read Stand Your Ground, and through her agent reached out to me.
Imagine. And it would be that book, right?
It was that book. It would be that book.
And it just keeps going. I mean, you shared other news about The Personal Librarian. I don't know how much of that you want to get into here, but it just really does show that there is not only an interest in this story, but people understand the importance of stories like this.
Yeah.
Do you see that also as part of your charge at this point, Victoria? Yes, we've gotten to know you through fiction, but do you think part of your charge now is to make sure that people like her are not forgotten?
That's right. That's it now. That's why Pride is my last contemporary novel. And it's been a really kind of bittersweet moment here, because it's novels like Pride and Lust and Temptation that got me to where I am, but they were stepping stones to get me to what I think is my real purpose as a writer. I want to uncover these hidden women, and there are a lot of hidden white women, but Black women have been erased. Like somebody actually took an eraser and just wiped out our names, and people don't know. So from this point forward, that's what I'll be doing. And I love it because it comes at a time of my career where I have more than 30 books, and it's time to do something different. It's time to challenge myself, but it's time to educate people, all people, about what's going on out there and who we are. And you know the thing that's so interesting, Cyrus? Writing a personal librarian, and we have a new book coming out in June called The First Ladies, and now I'm sitting here writing my first solo historical fiction. The crowds are, it's a totally different market. The crowds that come out, I now speak to 300 people at a signing, where with my contemporary books, I'll speak to 12 people at a signing.
Yeah. Is it too early for you to start thinking about legacy at this point, Victoria? Meaning, when people say your name, and your name is legendary in the industry, when they say Victoria Christopher Murray, have you started thinking about what you want them to say about you?
No, I haven't, because I'm still so young. I started this when I was 2. So I'm still way too young. Though someone gave me, I know Vanessa Miller, I can't think of the name of her organization, gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I'm like, what? Don't y'all do that? Like when people are ready to go out of here? But it is interesting. I've been doing this for close to 25 years, Cyrus.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I had one book and 3 fans, my mom, my dad, and my husband. My sisters were suspect. They.
Yeah.
And so I haven't thought about that. I just know that I really want to make every book good. Every book I write is going to be the highest quality. And it's not going to be the highest quality based on something that Pookie said. My friend Pookie or my cousin Pookie. I go through the personal librarian, we went through 4 edits, like just over and over and over again. Pride went through 4 edits, just trying to deliver the best I can at that moment. And so I hope that will be part of my legacy. That every book, you may not like the story, but it was always well written.
Yeah. We needed an hour for this, Victoria. Look, we're gonna have to do a part 2. We're gonna have to do a part 2 because when you just mentioned that, I'm like, you know what? We haven't really spent a whole lot of time talking about.
I know we needed an hour, so we'll do a part 2. I'll do a part 2.
We have to do a part 2, but let's say this about Pride, because I think this is interesting, especially in the world we're living in now, where the law is such a big part. You have choices that are being made, consequences that are there. Talk to us about that. What was it like for you to kind of construct the setting of this book and really just showing the consequences that can come from our actions or inaction?
What's interesting to me about Pride is that was the hardest sin to write. And I didn't know why at the beginning of it. And I started studying the different sins because I was like, lust and eat, they came to me. None of my books are easy to write. But pride, I didn't even know how to describe it. And that's because all the other sins are outward sins. You can see lust. You can see wrath. You can see greed. Pride is an inward sin. That it's really through how a person feels and what they're thinking and their thoughts. So it was a much more difficult book to write. But once I got it, I wanted to create a world that I hadn't done before. And so this one has a little bit of a mystery to it, like a whodunit. She's being stalked. She has to go back to her ex to get help. Who wants to go back to their ex to get help? And then there's a whole. So what I tried to create was everybody's a suspect from the beginning. And even if you think you may know who did it, you won't know why.
Yeah. I love that. Victoria, it's another great read. And I think it makes us, for our audience out there, if you have not picked up other books from Victoria, you definitely make sure you guys do that. Of course, Amazon, you can go there to be able to get them. Your favorite bookstore, of course, for sure. But I think, too, the other thing, Victoria, is that you are someone, again, that we're able to take the journey along with you. Eric says he started the book today. Eric, you're going to definitely enjoy it. It is, and what I love about it, we'll definitely have to talk about you slipping to the skin of these characters, the way you write as well. Because, Victoria, I think that's interesting, too, especially for a book like Pride 2. What should we be on the lookout for? I know you're just now starting, of course, your celebration of Pride and this new chapter for you. What else should our audience be on the lookout for?
Well, I have a new book coming out in June called The First Ladies, and that's my second book with Marie, and it's about the friendship between Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune. And it's amazing, and they were best friends during a time of segregation and Jim Crow. And as many people may know, Mary McLeod Bethune was probably the most powerful Black person in the country. She was part of FDR's cabinet. She was an advisor, but she had to take the colored car from Florida to Washington, D.C. to go see the president, to go sit in the president's office. That is crazy to me. So I'm so excited. But Cyrus, what I'm so excited about is my first solo historical fiction. I'm writing about a woman. I'm writing about the Harlem Renaissance. And I always say, if you have a favorite Harlem Renaissance writer, the woman I'm writing about discovered them. And she was the first one to publish. Langston Hughes, Kelty Cullen, all of them. Nella Larson. She and Nella were friends, and her name is Jessie Redmond Fawcett. And so I don't have a title for that book yet, even though I'm deep in the writing. I just spent almost 2 weeks in Harlem, living in Harlem, because I wanted to get the feel of that. Loved it. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely have you back. Again, everyone, New York Times bestselling author Victoria Christopher Murray. Her newest book is Pride. You guys see it there. All of her books are available here on Amazon. Victoria, how can they stay connected with you on your schedule?
Everything on social media, at my website is my name, Victoria Christopher Murray. Kind of branded that, I think. People call me VCM though. But I branded that. So my website is victoriachristophermurray.com, and where my tour schedule is and everything, it'll be up. I'll be on an extensive tour for the First Ladies. And then on social media, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as Victoria Christopher Murray.
Victoria, thank you again for taking out the time. Really do appreciate it. Continued blessings and success to you. And looking forward to our next chat together.
I am too. And thank you for all that you do. And you've been doing this a long time, because you were there with me from the beginning. So thank you, and congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.